My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is a poet and a writer. His writing expands beyond genres, and he has written poetry and self-help books. He is the author of Your Life, Your Purpose, Your Way. And through his writing, he wants to help people feel seen, heard, and live life on their terms. Within this episode, we talked a lot about finding your purpose and living your purpose and knowing how to find your purpose and knowing when you found your purpose and all these things around purpose, right? He discussed how he found his purpose. I even discussed a little bit about how I found my purpose and a past episode in season 1 where I discussed in detail about how I found my purpose. This was a really beautiful episode. I hope that you enjoy. Hello and welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his, and I will be your guide throughout this journey on the show. This show is a platform where trans men of color voices will be amplified as we share our stories. Trans men of color are not monolithic. What that means is our journeys are not the same. We come from different backgrounds. We have different stories, family relations, chosen family, and most of all, we have different transition journeys. Visibility equals possibility. I like to say that all the time. We like to highlight on this show trans men of color businesses and entrepreneurs, parents, athletes, survivors, and many other issues and topics that are relatable to trans men of color in our existence. Dem Bois Podcast is not only a platform to amplify our voices, but to raise awareness and conversation around our lived experiences. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting, listening, and sharing the show. Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a poet, a professional writer, and they are living to change the status quo. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks, your name and pronouns?
Hi, guys. Avery with they, him pronouns.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you are here and to get into your story. So where are you currently located?
I'm in Chicago. Woo-hoo.
Chicago. Are you from Chicago?
I'm from Northwest Indiana, so Chicagoland area, but now I'm actually living in Chicago, 606.
606. I got you. Okay, what the hell is in Indiana? Is there anything interested in Indiana? I
Oh,
don't mean that hey, you from Indiana. I don't mean to say it like that, but really.
I have no emotional ties
Okay.
to Indiana. Like,
Okay.
there is nothing there. Like, I guess if you're a WNBA fan, we have Caitlin Clark now. She
Yeah.
plays for Indiana Fever, but other than that, what is Indiana for real? That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm like, I have yet to have anybody say, "Hey, I'm from Indiana." Like, this is you the first. I always have them Boys podcast first. You are the first guest from that was originally from Indiana.
From Gary, Indiana, Michael Jackson birthplace.
Okay,
So
yes, okay. When I heard Indiana, that's the first thing I thought about. Okay, Michael Jackson, but then I was like, I can't remember where he was from. And you from okay.
yes.
I give you that. Michael Jackson is a legend, so I'll give you that. But I know a little bit more about Chicago than I do Indiana. So do you like Chicago?
Oh yeah, I love it. I
Okay.
like, and there's nothing like summertime shy. It's always something to do in Chicago. And I also love the neighborhood we live in. It's very community oriented. Like they have a block party every year. So I'm definitely happy where I'm at.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I've always lived in a place where I don't even talk to my neighbors. So to know that you having a block party, that's amazing.
We so they have it. Have we ever went? No, but it does happen.
Okay, so you ain't a part of the block party, but you know that it happens. Okay,
Yeah,
so I challenge you to attend that block party this year. Get to know your neighbors. That's important.
you're right. You're right.
It is
We're
because
just we're the youngest ones on our block. So it's like all like elderly people, and then their young grandkids. There's
Got
like
you.
no in between.
I got you. Well, you the in between, right? It's you can bring a little wisdom, young wisdom to the old folks sometimes, right? And or to gain some
That's true.
knowledge and wisdom from older people. So that's how I grew up a lot. Where at my current full-time job, I worked around a lot of older people, people
Hmm.
that were old, been through life, got a lot of stories to tell, and taught me like, hey, because I started my full-time job when I was 21, so I didn't know shit, right? But I learned a lot from a lot of the older folks. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I do actually like hanging out with old folks. Like it crosses my mind at least once a month. I should work at a nursing home. Like just to be like their entertainment or something. Because I do like engaging with them
yeah, and the old people they say whatever the hell they want to say. They give two
all the
shits.
time.
Yeah.
No fucks are
Yeah,
given.
none. I be telling my grandmother all the time, like, Grandma, you can't say that.
Yes. And she be like, I'm old. I can say whatever I want. No,
Yeah,
you can't. No,
I'm
you
like,
can't.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, who told you that? Nobody gave you permission to say that. Like, nah, Grandma, like that's damaging to say that, you know.
Yeah, like they do
Yeah,
not care. The
yeah,
filter is gone.
yeah. I hope to not be like that when I get older. I want to still be able to be mindful of people and their feelings and like, watch
Mhm.
what I say and not use age as a way to get away with shit. So
Yeah.
yeah. So let's get into this. So Avery, I love that name. That sounds like a really dignified name. Like you
It's
come.
not. It means master of elves.
Oh, okay. So how did that name choose you?
It could be I am a short king. It could be I have no idea. But like when I was starting my transition, like Avery just felt right. And yeah, I looked it up one day. I was like, wait, what does Avery mean? And it is master of elves. So I guess I'm Santa Claus.
Hey, it got the name, the word master in it, so that could mean something. You could be a
That is true. I'm a leader. That's what it means.
yes. There you go. There you go. Well, I like the name, and so you just one day you just woke up and was like, "This is a name that I'm going to choose for myself."
Yeah, like I didn't even make a list. I guess when I was so when I first came out, I was called I was agender, so I was like, I don't really identify with a gender at all. And I was like, what name would I like to be called? And like Avery popped up. And it's like I don't even know Avery. Didn't grow up around Avery. So when that name came to me, I was just like, it rolls off the tongue. Okay, it kind of goes, and I stuck with it to see if I would change my mind or if another name would feel more like me. But like nothing feels more right than Avery.
I like that. So, and before we started, you told me that you just officially got your name changed, legally got your name changed. How does that
Yeah,
feel to you?
it feels amazing. And it's just like the little things, like getting pieces of mail, and you don't have to see your dead name anymore, or I travel a lot, and so seeing like the TSA agents like look at me with the facial hair and then like look at my ID and they're like give me a look and I'm like I know, I know. So it's just things like that where it feels so good to like have it match the life that I've been living
Mm,
even before my name was legally changed.
mm. Do you have any advice for someone that's listening that's looking forward to changing their name, but maybe they haven't yet, or maybe it's fresh to them too, like with you? Any advice you want to say to somebody listening?
So I was grateful enough to go through a trans org in Chicago. So it's called the Transgender Justice it's a whole thing, but you can look it up on Instagram. They actually help you with
Mm,
changing your name, so you get kind of like a caseworker, and they walk you through the whole process, and then they do the filing on behalf of you. So all you have to do is actually show up to court and then show up to pick up your official letters, and they even go to the DMV with you, so to be an advocate for
oh
you.
wow.
And so my advice would be if you have that and you're wherever you live to try to go through an organization to make it easy because it's a challenging process. So I guess my advice would be to don't be afraid to advocate for yourself because unfortunately, not everyone is on board with us living our lives. And so there are going to be people who try to make it harder for you, try to make you feel a type of way. And so I would say just remain confident, remain calm, and be an advocate. You know the laws. Like we've even if you haven't changed your name yet, we have all studied the name change laws in our state over and over again. So you know what's right, you know what's wrong, and you know how the process goes. And don't let anyone try to deter you from changing your name.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So was there a fee in Chicago for changing your name?
There is a fee, but you can get it waived.
Mm.
So I was able to get mine waived. I still had to pay for it to be in the newspaper, but other than that, I didn't have to come out of pocket much.
Yeah, there are programs for folks. I know for me, I changed my name 10 years ago. And so
Okay.
I also had a fee waiver too. So I didn't have to pay that fee. And I do believe I did have to pay the newspaper part, but that was insignificant amount
Yeah.
compared to the name
Yeah.
change part, right? So it's very helpful. So that's also another thing, right? You said to advocate for yourself, but also the
Mhm.
folks like don't let the monetary part discourage you, right? Advocate for
Yeah.
that part too. So look and see if you can qualify for some type of arrangement where you don't have to pay or you only have to pay a small amount based on your income and all of that. So don't look at the price tag either and let that discourage you from changing it.
Yeah. Do not let that scare you because if there's a will, there's a way.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's the old folks term. So you are learning from the OGs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up I always wanted to hang out with my grandparents. Like my mom would ask me every morning, it's like, who do you want to pick you up from school? And I would say my grandma or my grandpa. So
So that's where you got some of those sayings and all of that type of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, love that. Are your grandparents still with us?
Yes, they are,
Mm,
thankfully.
yes.
Yes.
So as we shift into like talking about your transition journey, I want to ask you first, your grandparents, it said you spent some time with your grandparents at a younger age. How are your grandparents with your transition?
I have to say I'm thankful that actually my whole family is supportive. Um my grandma, bless her heart, she's it's funny. We can laugh about it now. When I actually came out to her as trans, she was like, she like paused for like 10 seconds and she was like, being gay wasn't enough. And she said it in a way like I woke up every day trying to find a way to disappoint her. Uh, and
I'm
so I had to
sorry,
hit
I
her.
didn't mean to laugh, but that's like
It's
going back to us talking about that older people say whatever they want,
they
right?
say what I was like, well, actually, since I'm trans, I'm straight. And that just like she's like, oh my God. She's like, okay, fine. But she's been very supportive. She probably went a little bit too overboard because me and my wife are in the baby planning process. And she was like, so when is your sperm getting tested? And I was like, oh, you're you're a real ally. Like you actually forgot a little bit. My grandpa has been supportive, and it really means a lot that he is because he's a pastor. He actually has his own church, and there's no judgment, never been any judgment from him. So I'm very grateful for that.
Wow. So, do you attend his church?
I used to,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. That's definitely different, right? When we talking about pastors and wow, I love
yeah,
that for grandpa. Thank big ups to grandpa for that. Like for real. That's
yeah.
a
He
blessing.
actually married me and my wife as well,
Wow.
so I'm very grateful for him.
Wow. So and that beats like the stereotype, right? Because folks think that in every situation when we identify as trans or we come out LGBTQ plus whatever, right? That oh your family is
Mhm.
going to disown you, but that's not everybody's story and not everybody's journey, right?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons for this podcast is to show that we're not monolithic and we all have different journeys. We all
A
have different
hundred percent.
paths. Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
so do you want to share with us like what age were you when you had a sense of who you were and your transition journey?
So I would say the first time I got any inkling, I was 19, which was one of the barriers for me when I was in my transition at the beginning, because I have read so many stories where people were like, oh, ever since they were a kid, they knew that they were trans, or they always had a feeling. I was like, I had no clue.
Mm,
Like, I mean, I grew up as a tomboy. I mean, there were clues as I look back, but I never felt very uncomfortable in my body until I was about 19. And I started to Google, and I'm like, what is this feeling? What does it mean when I don't feel like a girl anymore? But I don't really all the time feel like a boy. But if I had to pick one, I would be a boy. And so that is when it started. And I had came out to my friends first, and they were very supportive. And then I came out to the person I was dating at the time, and she was not supportive. And it actually like crushed my spirits completely. She was like basically accused me of like faking it. And so I actually went back in the closet as cis, and I didn't officially come out until 2020, because we are in the pandemic. And people have actually, I've like read articles about this, how a lot of people came out in 2020 because we no longer had to go into our office to perform. Like, we were at home and we were our true selves. And being at home, I was like, I can't fight it anymore. Like, I'm trans. And I was in therapy at the time, came out to my therapist. We talked through it. And I came out to the person I was dating at that time, and she's actually really supportive, which kind of gave me the push to embrace it publicly and come out to family and live socially as trans.
mm. So let's go back just a second. So you said the first person you were with said that you were faking it.
Yeah.
What faking it in what way? What do you mean by that?
She was like, you you're not really trans. You just like boyish things, but you're not a boy. So she was like, she's like, you could be a tomboy and not have to be trans. And
Hmm,
I was like, okay, maybe you're right. Be-
got you.
Among other reasons, it wasn't a healthy relationship. So there was a big age gap, and I was just like, okay, she's right. She's
Mhm.
older. She's right. And so I retreated.
So are you still in communication with her?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's just a sign too that right, it wasn't meant to be. I mean, right. And sometimes when you transition, you trying to or you first you come to grips with, hey, I am a trans identified person. It takes time to know exactly what that means for you, right?
Yeah, it
And
does.
so you opening up and thinking that somebody that cares about you, you could trust them. And then sometimes it just don't work out that way. But like you don't even have all the answers for yourself yet. You trying to figure
No,
it out.
you have no, you're like, I just know I don't feel right. So I have to walk through this. And it's like, maybe I could talk to somebody that cares about me. And then you're like saying, no, you're wrong. And it's like, damn, maybe my feelings are wrong. Maybe I am overlooking it. So that was my first experience. I was in 19. So in 2020, I was 23.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
So,
that is not even a reflection of you either, right? That probably was just a reflection of her and how she identified with herself and
right,
how and who she was attracted to, right? And so that just came out in the wrong way. And I'm glad that you didn't. I'm sorry that you went back,
right.
reverted back a bit, but I'm glad that you didn't let that deter you from being who you are and being authentic to yourself.
Me too. I am very glad.
Yeah. So in the midst of the transition, and come. So I want to tell you first. I want to go back a little bit. So I want to tell you first that, and to anybody listening, that age doesn't matter because I
No.
came out, I identified as trans in my mid 30s.
Mm-hmm.
early to mid 30s. And so I had no idea. I went through all these journeys in my life, and I was okay with every step that I took, right? I'd have been through
Yeah.
all the letters, and I was okay with every step, right? And then I thought, well, wait a minute. Well, now I'm going to, I feel different now that I'm 34
Mm-hmm.
years old. I think I'm going to go this way. I identify as trans now. So it's like age doesn't matter. It's about your experience, and then it's about how you feel internally, right? So what do
Yeah.
you have to say about that?
Oh, I agree that age does not matter at all. And it doesn't matter, like you said, you could have been happy with who you were in your past experiences. That doesn't negate the fact that you are trans. And it took me a lot to unlearn that. Because that's all I saw. Those are all the stories that I saw at the time. Like they had always knew and that they spent so much time hating themselves. And I was like, I didn't really hate myself.
Mhm.
I didn't really feel uncomfortable. Like I didn't have like always this voice in the back of my head. It was just at 19, I was like, womanhood does not feel right. So let me explore this. And like you said, it's just different stages of your life. And now that I am out as trans, it's like, man, I'm so glad that I I listened to that inkling that I had, that little feeling that I had, because I could not imagine not being Avery right now.
Yeah. And also, I want to add to that and say that everybody does not go through dysphoria either. Um,
Right.
I talked about that in a previous episode. I can't remember which episode, but we talked about how both of us don't subscribe to the dysphoria, right? And like, you don't have to feel one way about your body or not feel one way about your body in order to identify as being a trans person either. So
100%.
yeah. And the only thing that I didn't like on my body was my chest. I was just like, yo, this is going to go. I don't care if I got to, and I've said this before, if I got to lay them out on the table myself and cut them off, they going to be gone, right? That
Yes.
was just that was just how I feel about my own body. I don't really think that it was dysphoria per se. I just didn't like them. And I don't, it just wasn't for me. But I don't think as far as dysphoria that I don't explain it that way. To me, I don't see it that way, and that wasn't a part of my journey. So to know that that's not a part of everybody's journey, right?
Yeah, that is very important. I was like, I have my top surgery scheduled for the end of August of this year.
Yes.
And I feel like people expect you to be like, as soon as you come out as trans, okay, when the surgeries? When are you starting the hormones? And it's like, well, I don't have to do anything medically to be considered trans. I can just say I'm trans and still present the same way that I've been presenting this whole time.
Absolutely. Can you please say that again for folks in the back who can't hear you?
You do not have to do anything to be considered trans, but say that you are trans. And that is valid enough.
Absolutely. I had a very horrible experience when I first came out as being trans. My partner at the time had introduced me to someone that's known in the community. I won't say their names or whatever, but and so I went up to him and started talking to him, and I was like, yeah, he had transitioned years ago. And he's a little bit older than me. And so he looked me up and down, and I was looking up to this guy, right? And he looked me up and down, was like, how you gonna call yourself trans? You ain't even on T, you ain't haven't had top surgery or nothing. Turned around and kept talking, doing what he was doing. When I tell you that hurt my little feelings, that hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? I'm looking up to you. Like I'm looking for advice or direction or something. I wasn't looking for that. Right. And so
Mhm.
to repeat what you saying, like you don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to
Nothing.
medically do anything. You don't have to take T. You don't have to have top surgery, bottom. So you don't have to have anything. You could just say, hey, this is who I am, and
Hmm.
period. That's it.
That's Yep. That's the end of the statement right there. You don't have
Yeah.
to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to be passing any of that.
Right. And passing to some folks is not important. Right.
Right.
And I want to say that now in my life, because I transitioned medical, started to medically transition 10 years ago. that now in my life that I am passing. But when I first began to transition, that wasn't really a goal of mine. It just happened that way, right? So now when I go into places, I'm just as I don't want to say like just average man just walking into place, right? People don't know my intersectionalities or what lies beneath of who I really, really am. But
Right.
that wasn't a goal of mine. It just happened that way. Right. So
Mhm.
that doesn't have to be I didn't even want my voice to change. I didn't want hair. I didn't want any of those things. It just came. And then as I started to grow and as time passed, I was like, oh, I
It's
actually
kind of
kind of like
nice.
this. Yeah. Right.
I
So
look kind of good.
yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I would have some moments when I would walk by the mirror and I was like, oh shit, who is that? Oh shit, that's me. I legit would frighten myself.
You have the little changes, and then one day you look up and be like, who, who is this?
Yeah, who is this motherfucker in this mirror? I would frighten
Literally.
myself. Yeah, I would frighten myself sometimes. I'm like, oh, Sean, that is you. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because I spent so much of my life not looking in mirrors because I wasn't happy with how I looked anyway at a certain point in my life, like how I
Mhm.
saw myself. So I didn't really look in the mirror. I always tell people, oh, I'm not photogenic. That's what I would always say. And so I didn't take pictures and I didn't look in mirrors. So to walk by a mirror and actually be like, to really take myself in as a whole, it shocked the shit out of me. It really
I get
did.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Sean Aaron, the host of Dem Boys Podcast. Are you enjoying the podcast so far? Great. I'm glad that you are. Would you consider donating today to help support the continuation of this podcast? As you know, this podcast aims to serve as a platform to highlight and amplify the voices of trans men of color and share our transition stories. The podcast not only aims to amplify trans men of color voices, but it also raises awareness around our lived experiences. You would like to donate? Where can you donate? Great. I'm glad that you asked. Link in our description will take you directly to Network for Good, whom we've partnered with in order to collect donations for the podcast. Or you can visit our website. On the website, click the donate button, and from there, you are able to donate directly to the podcast. All donations are tax deductible. What does the donations go to? Oh, I'm glad that you asked. Your donation will help to support our production costs. We are working with Jasmine from Pink Lady Productions that brings you this awesome content. And also, we pay our guests an honorarium. Pay our guests an honorarium. Yes, we do. Why? Because as trans men of color, we would like to support and uplift each other and honor the time that's given out to come here and share their stories. So if you love this podcast, share and donate. See you on the next episode. Take care. So I'm so excited that you have your surgery date coming up. How do you feel about that?
I do feel like it's been a long time coming. I do actually experience dysphoria with my chest. And so it is going to be like literally a weight off. I'm nervous, of course, but I'm just excited to be topless and like not have to wear a binder. Really.
Mm, yes. Is there anything else that excites you about it?
I feel like it'll get me closer. I'll feel closer to who I am. Like I know for some people it doesn't matter and that's okay. For me it matters a lot that I pass or be somewhat passing. And I know my chest is basically the biggest barrier into that because there's no way you looking at this facial hair and saying, ma'am, like,
Mm.
we know why you're assuming that I'm a woman.
Yes, but also let's talk about this too, right? And so one
Mhm.
of the things that with my body, I mean you can't see because I'm sitting down, but one of the things in my body is that I have I want to say thicker, I want to say bigger lower body. So one of my giveaways is okay, oh, you got hips, right? But let's just be real here, because even cisgender men, some cisgender men have large hips, and some
They do.
cisgender men have a larger upper body too, right? And so we
Mhm.
get into our minds, sometimes we get fixated with how, because we're just talking about it doesn't matter if you get top surgery or not, right? But we sometimes we're conditioned and we get fixated on if I want to if I'm trans and I'm identify as a man, I have to look a certain way. And in reality, like people, we're human beings, and human beings as people, we're not all made the same way, right? We're not
Right.
all straight up and down. We're not all the same weight. We're not all the same height. And you could be a trans identified person, you could be a cis person and still have certain attributes about your body that, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yes.
to think like, but I think, I guess it's just more of a mental thing for personal, right? For you. But
Yeah.
just to be like, hey, anybody could have a body and they could be one way or the other, right? How do you feel about that, like mentally? Is it something mental for you, or
No, it's just when I when I envision like my favorite version of myself, when I see myself in the future, when I see my most confident and comfortable self, it's me post top surgery.
gotcha?
So I know that like it does not matter how I look. Like I could say something and be like, I'm trans, pronouns he, him. But just for me personally, I I want that look of a flat chest.
Got you. And so you bind. How was that binding? You bind every day?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I only usually do it when we go out, and even then it's probably like 50-50.
Mm,
It's really more if I'm having like a some real strong gender dysphoria. I'm like, okay, yeah, I gotta bind today.
mm.
If I want to have fun, I need to bind today. But it doesn't. It does. I guess it doesn't bother me as much anymore because I have top surgery on the calendar. So I'm like, only a few more months.
Yeah.
But no, I don't bind every day. No, that's dangerous.
Mm. I never bind. I never did bind. I always in my mind, I was like, what's the point? I feel like one day I never knew how or why or whatever, but I was like, one day they're not gonna be here. And so what's the point of me binding? I felt like one day I don't have to worry about that no more. So it's like I don't know if I never had the knowledge of binding or never knew anybody that did. I just knew that wasn't particularly what I wanted to do. And so I was like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking, like, how is it, how do you bind every day, or how is it for you?
So for me, I have binders from GC2B. And that's how I bind. And I have the full compression top,
Mm,
but I never bought the tape. Um, I'm scared to use the tape, not gonna lie, because I don't want to injure myself.
mm,
So I feel like the binders, they get as much as they can flat, and like that's a really that matters to me. Like I know, I think with binding, a lot of people think if you bind tight enough, it will flatten the chest, and that's not possible because the fat is there. The only thing they can do is flatten it a bit, but it can't like get rid of something that's attached to your body.
mm,
So with binding, you have to remove the idea. Well, for some people, if your chest is small enough, the binding can make you completely flat. But if I would say if you're over a C cup, you're not going to get full flatness, and so you should lower your expectations with that because when your expectations is to be as flat as possible, that's when people start to get into the dangerous area of binding too tight and for too long. And that can cause breathing issues. You can you can leave bruises, you can cause internal issues, and that's not worth it.
lower your expectations. Now, I don't ever think I had ever would recommend lowering expectations. Could you
Yeah.
mind explaining that just a little bit more about what you mean by that?
So for anybody that's like they're like first getting into binding, because this was my experience. I thought binding was going to make my chest flat. So the first binder I bought, I was like, it's not flat. And like I tried all the tips and tricks, and I'm like, why is my chest not getting flat? And so after doing research and reaching out to trans people whose bodies are similar to mine, I think that's another big thing. Then that also it helped me realized like, okay, binders do not cause flatness. So if I want flatness, I'm not going to get it by safely binding.
Got you.
Yes.
Got you. Okay. So the safety thing about it, right?
Hmm.
When you said lower expectation, are you saying prepare yourself mentally so it does not affect your mental health because you think you're supposed to be one way that is not going to end up that way?
Yes. Because it, like, I remember the first time trying it on and like wanting to cry because I thought the binder would be the answer to all my problems. I was like, I'm a bind, I'm gonna have a flat chest, no one will know. I can do this until I get my surgery, and boom, we're good. And that's not the case. Now, I will say with binding, you can build on it. Like if I wear a binder and then a hoodie, then yeah, the chest, it does look flat. But like if you're wearing a regular t-shirt and a binder, you're not going to get that flatness. So I just encourage everyone to be safe with binding because doing it for long periods of time, every single day, it can cause problems.
So mentally prepare yourself for
Yes.
the binder that you have, body shape, body type, all of those things. Take that into consideration when binding.
Yes.
Got you.
And don't compare your body to other trans people bodies. We shouldn't do that anyway because everybody body reacts differently to hormones and you have genetics, but especially don't compare yourself to other trans bodies.
That is golden advice right there. That is golden
Yeah.
advice. And don't compare yourself to anybody, right? And every time about
Yeah, period.
physically, financially, anything, right? Your life is your life, and you have to control only your life. You can't. It ain't gonna look like somebody else's.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, what would be your advice to somebody like, yo, I want to bond, and I don't care what you say. I'm gonna do this every day. I'm gonna squeeze it as tight as I can. What would be your advice to somebody that are maybe bonding now or thinking about bonding?
I would say if for the people like I'm gonna do it as tight and as long as I can, you may want to ask yourself because now it may be a mental thing. Why? Who are you binding for at this point? Are you doing it for you or are you doing it to not be clockable? What's the reason behind it? Because for me, I'm doing it for me so I can feel comfortable on some days, but I know that I'm trans regardless of how I look. And so for you, if you're a person who you're going to go to the extreme with binding, remember you are trans no matter how flat your chest is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that. So let's kind of like pivot to your career because I told you when we first started that I love that you are a writer. I love that you are a poet and you are in the realm of things that I love. So sci-fi, I love it. And you are a professional writer and you are the author of a book, Your Life, Your Purpose, Your Way. You
Yes.
want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yes, my baby. It actually just came out on April 24th of this year, 2024. And it is it's so funny how it started. Last year, I was searching for what to do next with my career. I was a business and marketing coach, and it was fun. I was successful, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I was like, this cannot be what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life because in my head, my job is like, I want to love my job so much, it doesn't feel like work. So I started, I closed down my coaching business and then was like, well, what's next? And I was completely unclear. And that scared me because for the first time in my life, I didn't know what was next for me. And I tried all the methods under the sun: journaling, praying, meditation, astrology, tarot, and oracle cards. I tried it all and nothing came to me. And I was so busy trying to figure out what was next, I wasn't appreciating my present. So once I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go with the flow. The idea of me being a writer came to me. And the thing about that is I've been a writer. I've been writing since I was a kid. I already have self-published a book. I've always loved writing. I just didn't see it as a career, which I talk about in the book, why I didn't see it as that. And when I was like accepted the fact that I'm a writer at heart, then the idea for your life, your purpose, your way came. Whereas like, man, you just went through a year and a half of soul searching for your purpose. What if someone else is in the same position? And there's so many self-help books out there. Like I'm not gonna say I'm the first one to come out with a book to help you find your purpose, because that's not the truth. But I feel like this is the first one where you're not getting talked down to. You're not getting preached at. You're getting advice from a caring friend. So when I wrote the book, I wanted to be like a conversation between you and a friend. I didn't want it to be like, you want to find your purpose? 10 things you have to do. And if you don't do these 10 things in this order and how I tell you, you're not going to find your purpose. It's like, no, you know what your purpose is. It's in you. You may have to do a little soul searching, but it's in you. So here are ways that you can soul search. Here's the encouragement you need. Here are the steps you need when you come up to obstacles on your purpose and you feel like, how am I supposed to go over this obstacle? It seems impossible. So, with your life, your purpose, your way, it's more than just also talking about your purpose. It's teaching you how to live life for you, to not care what other people think, to not try to be like everyone else, to simply find out who you are as a person and then live the life that you were created to live, because we were all created for a purpose.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Hey, this is Sean Aaron. I'm the founder and executive director of Dem Bois Inc. I am also the host of Dem Bois Podcast. As you may know, Dem Bois provides financial assistance to trans men of color in order for them to obtain gender affirming surgery. We have great news. We're currently looking for volunteers to help support our programs. Our programs include our gender affirming surgery grant program and also our personal care package program. We personally curate packages filled with personal hygiene items. Just to name a few, things like tissue, soap, towels, toothpaste, and toothbrushes. We mail them out to trans men of color across the country who may be in need of help caring for their personal hygiene needs. We are looking for volunteers to help raise funds to support our programs. Also, we're looking for someone locally to the Bay Area to help us put all of the care packages together. If our mission is something that resonates with you and you would like to help support our work, just let us know. You can send an email to hello@dembois.org. That is HELLO@DEMBOIS.org. And we will get back to you with further details. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the next episode. And you said self-help books. You published any self-help books other
No,
than
this
this
is
one?
my first one.
First one. Okay. Okay. I love. So I want to ask you. So you said the tarot cards, all the cards, you was soul searching. And so how did you really just find your purpose?
Crazy. So I have a weekly newsletter that I do. And I started it to document me like trying to find my purpose. And something told me to pray and meditate. And so I picked up my Bible, I read a couple of pages, meditated on it, and then I heard God say, write. You're supposed to write how to find your purpose. And I was like, I don't really feel qualified because I'm like, how am I supposed to tell people how to find that purpose? And I didn't find mine. Mine was like dropped in me. And it was more so talk about my experience, talk about those negative feelings I had on that journey, the how I overcame not having confidence in myself, how I overcame the self doubt, how I overcame the naysayers, and how I overcame all of the obstacles, right? Financial, mental, emotional. And then the beauty, they talk about the beauty of actually me finding my purpose and what life has looked like since.
So I'm convinced. I'm gonna get me a copy for sure. So for folks listening that would like a copy, where can they find it?
They can find it online at averycampbellwrites.com. And if you don't, if you're not in a position to buy it, you also have the ability to request it at your local library and they can order a copy for you.
Beautiful. And it just came out when you said April
April
24th.
24th.
April 24th. Is there something significant about that date, April 24th? Was that the date that you chose or?
Yeah, so I chose that date. So I was picking a date and I was I wanted it to be on a day that felt good. And I wanted to do spring because it's like everyone is doing spring cleaning and emerging from hibernation. And so, what better way to help do that than with a book that helps you find your purpose? And so, I literally was just writing out dates, and I was like 4242024.
Hmm.
So you have the you have all the repeated numbers, and for me, that felt comforting, and I was like, yes, April 24th, 2024.
So the title, you want to talk about how did you come up with that title and what that title means to you? How does it resonate with you?
I have to give all credit to my wife for coming up with the title. I was I went through a lot of title changes. It was like um Journey to Your Purpose or Live It on Purpose. I even had Living Out Loud on Purpose. And I was just like, these feel so cringy. These are also the titles of books already. And it was more like, yeah, this book is overall about finding your purpose, but I'm also talking about so many other things, just helping you become a better individual overall. And I was like, I said, and I was venting, I was kind of brainstorming to my wife about like my ideas of what the book was about. And she was like, well, your purpose, your way. And I was like, okay. I was like, but I want people to know like they can do life their way. They can find their purpose on their time. And she was like, what about your life, your purpose, your way? I was like, that's pretty good. That's good. Yeah. Your life, your purpose, your way.
So in the book, did you give her credit?
I did.
Ah,
I did. I
okay.
called her my soundboard because she really is. Like I would have not been able to do this book without her and her support.
Mm. Support is very, very important. Um, and finding your purpose is very, very important, right? Because we don't want to just
Yes.
be, to some people it's everything. We don't want to just be floating around in this world. We each were put here
For
for a
a
reason.
purpose.
Yes, for a purpose and a reason. And I talked about my purpose and my reason back in season 1, episode 13, reaching back through philanthropy and the actualization of them boys. And
Mm-hmm.
so my purpose in life is where I am right now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this podcast, them boys as an organization, and it took me a long time to find my purpose. I went into a deep depression.
Me too.
Yeah, because what I thought was my journey actually wasn't my journey. And so I never had a plan B, plan C, none of that. It was just plan A and that's it. I put my 120% into that plan A and this is
Yep.
gonna happen. And it didn't. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, oh shit. Well, what the hell I'm gonna do now? I'm in my
That
30s. What is life? You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, what is life for me now? And then I had to sit with some things. I had to do some soul searching, as you said. And soul searching for some people mean different things, right? Some people may go
right.
hiking to the top of the mountain, and when they get there, they get their answer. Or
Mm-hmm.
you go, you bounce it off your soundboard or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And but once you find it, it just feels so right.
It clicks. It's like, duh.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because when you say there's no plan B, I actually talk about in the book having a false purpose
Mm,
where you are doing something, you're on this path, and you're like, it's everything's going good, but like, why do I not feel better about this? And a lot of times we chalk it up to life. Like, nobody fully loves what they do, nobody's really that happy. And it's like, no, no. When you're in your purpose, even on the hardest days,
mm,
you still have a little joy in your heart. And so for me, it was the same thing. Like when I was a business coach, I was like, this is it. I found it. I found my purpose. I found what I'm supposed to do. I can be creative and be strategic and work with people. And I talked about in my book how majority of my clientele were Black single mothers. So it's like how for me it's like how can I not love what I'm doing while I'm helping put money back into the community, especially with single mothers. And after I closed down the business, deep depression. Like I was so low. I was like, this was supposed to be what I was supposed to do for the rest of my life. Like I don't know who I am outside of being a coach. And I had to find out who I was.
mm. So I want to encourage folks that's listening to get this book. We're not going to give you all the little nuggets out of
Yeah,
this book.
now
Yeah. But I want to ask you if you have like any little bit of advice for somebody that's looking for that purpose. And I will be honest, like a lot of people, some people aren't readers, right? Some
that's
people
true.
some people like, audiobooks, or just some people just are not readers. So if somebody could take something away from you today, what would be a little bit of advice that you would give for finding your purpose?
I would say when it comes to finding your purpose, it starts with finding yourself. Because if you don't know who you truly are at your core, at your foundation, then it's going to be hard to figure out what you're created to do. So I compare it to building a house. You can have the most beautiful house in the world, but if there's not a strong foundation at the first storm, is gone. For you, your purpose is your foundation. You can have the greatest life ever, but if it is not built upon your purpose, it is not going to last long. So find out who you are. Find out your core values. What are the 3 to 5 things that are important to you in life? And then build upon that. But with your purpose, you'll know because you'll feel it in your heart. You'll feel it wash over you. You'll feel happiness. You'll feel relief. But your purpose, finding your purpose, starts with you finding, knowing, loving, and trusting yourself.
Absolutely. So what if somebody say, you know what, Avery, I hear all that. I hear you, but I don't have nobody to support me. You had somebody, you had a soundboard, you had a significant other. Well, I don't got none of that. I don't have family, nobody. I had no friends, none of that. How am I supposed to find my purpose and I'm here alone?
You sure you haven't read my book? That is in the book.
Really? No, I haven't,
I,
but I love to read, so I'm gonna read it.
I talk about that.
Mm,
How do you move forward when no one is on your side? And at that point, you have to be that friend to you. But then you also, and I know this is hard for some of us, you have to build the community that you want. So if you don't have family, you don't have friends, go out. And it's harder as an adult. I will say finding friends is so hard as an adult. And it's harder when you're trans because of people's unfortunate beliefs. But I would say start with being a friend to yourself. Take yourself out on dates, right? Be nice to yourself. A lot of us aren't nice to ourselves. Treat yourself with the same kindness that you extend to other people. And remember that with your purpose, you're going to have people pop up along the way when you start to walk in it. Because at the end of the day, none of us can do life alone. But for you right now, you just need to make the first step. That's all you have to do. You're thinking too far into the future. Make your first step and everything will fall into place for you.
Yes, absolutely. And it's getting yourself together is going back to the you saying like a house. It's
Yeah.
just like having a house, but then you don't have shit in it. How you gonna invite
Right.
people over, but you don't have nowhere for nobody to sit? You don't have no couch, no chairs, no dishes. You can't cook nobody now. You can't offer them a glass of water because you ain't got nothing in your damn house. So it's to
Right.
get all of that together first, and then all the
Exactly.
other stuff will come.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
I love it. I yes, I'm gonna read it. Yes, I need a good book in my life. And I'm always, even now, like even doing what I do, sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm wasting my time. I feel sometimes I literally, and I have a soundboard too. So sometimes I'm like, this, sometimes, but you get those little feelings of like, no, this is it. I always get messages, or like somebody may send me a message, or I might have an email, or somebody say, them boys changed my life in this way or that way, or somebody may make a comment on the Instagram, and I'm like, nah, I'm in my purpose, right? So
Yeah.
it's when you in it, you will get those constant reminders of like keep pushing forward, don't give up. You might be on E at this moment, but don't worry about it. Fill that up, get your gas tank back up to full, and keep moving, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's just funny because you say stuff that's in the book.
Oh,
It's a
really?
lie. Yeah. It's
Hey,
like,
hey, but it's funny because right when before we started, I said you my type of person. So
yes, you did.
So that
Yes.
may be where the connection is. I definitely
Yeah.
want to read this. I encourage folks to read your book and support you and support what you're doing. We're going to put the info about where to get your book in the show notes. I want to ask you: is there anything now that this book is out, and is there anything you're working on right now?
Oh my goodness. It's like as soon as I accept that my purpose is being a writer, it's like I have a new book idea
Mm,
every day. And it's crazy because usually when people are writers, they pick a genre and they stick to it. But genres are a funny concept, aren't they? So
yes, they are.
so like my first book was a poetry collection, and my second one is a self-help book, and now my third one is going to be a fiction novel. Now, whichever one gets written first, whether it's the young adult one about the sci-fi one, or it's the new one about three friends starting their marketing agency and trying to take on Hollywood, we don't know. But it's like, so that's what I'm working on. I'm working actually on three books. So the first one is a young gay novel, sci-fi, and it is about a teenager having to save the world of her because of her genetic makeup, the government can't control her. So she
Mm,
is enemy number one, but she also has the ability to save the world because she can't be controlled. So that's the first one I'm working on. The second one is three friends. They have their own marketing agency and they want to break into the entertainment industry in Hollywood. They get the once in a lifetime chance, but not everybody is on board. And so they learned the hard way that everything that glitters isn't gold. And then the third book is another self help book, actually, and it will be my 10 commandments of confidence. So the 10 things that I believe in that keeps me confident.
ooh, nice. So wait a minute. So we got this poetry thing. You just want to mention that just now. So where can folks find this poetry book?
So the thing about the poetry book is when I first released it, it was under my dad name. So I'm actually re-releasing it this month. It's called Feel, Forgive, Forget. So it's not available anywhere right now, but
Okay,
May 28th it will be, and it'll be re-released.
got you. So is there anything significant about May 28th, the date?
Yes, for May 28th, it'll be the 6 year anniversary of the book dropping. So I'm dropping it on the 6 year anniversary. Yes, re-releasing it. But
So
I don't
you
know
are
why I picked that
strategic.
date the first time.
Okay, so you are very strategic. I like this. Okay, so now somebody listening, they want to follow you. Hey, I want to check out all these books I love to read. So I'm ready for book one, two, and three like today. I'm ready for it yesterday. How can they keep up with you so we know when you're releasing stuff and when we can copy?
So if you're on Twitter/X, my at name Oh, well, actually on Twitter and Instagram is at Kane Writing. So Kane and then writing, no underscores or anything like that. So that's how you can keep up. Follow me on there. I have a Facebook page, which is Avery Campbell Writes. And then I have a newsletter on Substack, which is called the On Purpose Club. You can find out there, and I release weekly newsletters.
Beautiful. I'm here for all of that. I'm so here for it, man. So we're gonna make sure to plug all that into the show notes so folks can it's just one click away, and so
Mhm.
we can keep up with you. And so now this is the part of the show where I love to ask my guest a random question. Are you aware of my random questions?
No, but I love fast rounds. I
Oh,
love them.
cool,
So
cool, cool. All right. So my list of questions is always growing. I'm on 42 questions now. So the questions may or may not have anything to do with what we talked about today. So you just pick a
that's
number
fine.
between 1 and 42, and I'll read you that question.
Wonderful. Let's do 24.
Number 24. Number 24 says, "What are you afraid of?"
Surface level. I'm afraid of heights. Getting deep. I'm afraid of failure. I
Mm,
will say that it is the probably the thing that has held me back the most because I'm afraid to fail, and so I don't try, so I don't have to deal with failure.
mm.
So I am working through that fear. Um, that the faster working through it through the faster you fail, the faster you can get up and try again with the more experience to get it right.
Love that. So are we working on this fear?
Yes. Yes. One of the things about it was actually putting out this book because I was like, there's so many self-help books. This is not gonna do right. It's like nobody's gonna care. It's gonna sit on the shelf. I've actually had so many people, they was like, I read it in one sitting. It
Mm.
was I could not put it down because it was everything I needed to hear. And I was just like, "Ugh, there I go again." And another one is actually I had a book release party and a lot of people couldn't make it. And so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna cancel it. I don't want to look like the failure that has nobody show up to their party.
Mm.
But I didn't cancel it. People showed up. And so I'm pushing back against the fear of failure and rejection real hard, real hard.
Yeah, well, you said if it's when you living in your purpose, things work out. So I'm glad people showed up. And yes, there are a lot of self-help books out there, but there's not a self-help book from Avery. And so I'm
That is
glad that
true.
that's out there in the
Yes.
world. I'm so glad that that's out there in the world. My fear, surface level, I'm afraid of spiders. On a deep level, I'm afraid of death. I am
Mm,
afraid to die. I have been afraid of death my entire life, and I actively work on that in therapy about death. I have this fear of. I know what life is like, right? It ain't all that sometimes, but I know what to expect here. I
but
don't know
yeah,
what to expect on the other side. So that's
that is true. You don't
and so
know.
yeah,
The people that do know can't tell us.
right. They ain't came back and told us shit. They ain't told me nothing. So exactly. And so I'm very afraid of that, but I'm learning that and as um I won't get deep into that, but as I connect the with folks who are no longer physically here, I'm learning a little bit more about death, and so I'm not all the way comfortable with it, but I know that I don't want to. My fear of dying is I don't want to. One of the things with death is I don't want to die coming or going from somewhere. To me, that's so scary that somebody expected you to come home and you never make it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing about it. But I had that fear of like I'm gonna leave my loved ones, people that love me, and then one day, how because if you've experienced somebody dying and you know how that affects a person, to know
You
that
do
that
it
person that they
sucks.
yeah,
It's
and so I don't want ever want to leave and cause that type of pain, and it's inevitable, right? And so
right.
just having to live with the ending is getting used to that. Yo, so Avi, thank you so much for being a guest on this show. Man,
No
amazing,
problem.
amazing. So I know you gave all kind of little nuggets to people listening. Is there any last little bit of advice you'd like to give?
Last bit of advice. I don't know why the first thing that popped in my head was YOLO. But last bit of advice is you're the only person who has to be happy with the decisions that you make. At the end of the day, you're the one that has to lay in bed and think about those decisions. So make sure that you're making decisions in your life that doesn't keep you up at night.
Love that. Yo, that was good advice. So we have reached the end of this episode. I want to say thank you for listening to Dem Bois Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. Be sure to visit our website at dembois.org. That is DEMBOIS.org. If you would like to connect with us, be sure to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. If you think you would be a great guest on the show, or if you know somebody you think would be a great guest on the show, there's multiple ways to request to be a guest on the show. First is you can go visit our Instagram page, click the link in our bio, and from there you'll be able to request to be a guest on the show. Or you can visit our website, click the programs tab up top, scroll down to podcast, click the podcast button, and from there on the podcast page, you'll be able to request to be a guest on the show. Yo, we need questions, y'all. If you have those burning questions, a question that you want to ask me or a future guest on the show, there's multiple ways that you can send in questions, right? So first, you can go to Instagram, DM us that question, or you can email us at hello@dembois.org. That's HELLO, like hi, at dembois.org. Be sure to like the show. Be sure to share this show out with your friends and other folks in your networks. So until next time, take care. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You have just finished listening to the 8th episode in a row. After every 8 episodes, Dem Bois Podcast takes a month-long break from releasing new episodes in order to relax, rejuvenate, and to prepare for the next batch of 8 episodes. So for listeners, this is a great time to go back and re-listen to those episodes that you love and enjoy. It's also a great time to go back and listen to episodes that maybe you have missed or didn't have a chance to listen to. Also, this is a great time to like the show. This is a great time to share the show out with folks in your networks. And I hope that I see you on the next episodes. We're coming back with new guests, new topics, new everything. Take care. Until next time.